Recently, MyFunded Futures revamped their entire lineup of plans. And while they have a lot of really great offerings, the biggest complaint I always have is it's so much information to take in with all of the different plans. Now, their whole concept behind this offering of all these different plans is you really get to choose your own adventure. So if you're not ready to pay for a really high dollar plan that gets you straight to a live account really fast and you're ready to go, you already have a plan, you've already got experience trading in the futures market, and you know you can pass an account, they've got that for you. But if you're brand new to futures and you don't want to invest very much, you're really just getting out of the paper trading stages and getting ready to actually deploy some strategies that you've been working on, then they have a lower price account for you. And in the middle, they have some other options as well. It can just be a lot to go through. So instead of trying to explain this all, just out of thin air, I have a table to show you, and this is going to help out a lot. I do have to thank one of my community members, 𝗏𝗏𝗁, for helping out a ton with this. All I had to do was put some little finishing touches on this. But let me show you. So you can go to my website and yes, it's pink, I'm pretty, but you can go to prop firms up here, or it's also under free resources, but you can go to this page here. And this is where I'm keeping kind of just a general example of what the prop firms are offering, along with the discount codes and links so you can get the very best deal. But I've added this tab so you can compare by firm, but you can also now compare by account. And the first firm that I'm putting up here, of course, is MyFunded Futures, because there's a lot of new accounts to go through. So I'll go ahead and show you. This is kind of what you'll be used to seeing when you go to their website. They'll have core, and they'll have scale, and they'll have pro. And the core account is it's just a bare basics core account. So this is the one that I've been recommending if you've never passed a prop firm account and you're not really sure if your strategy is going to work in the live market. I do recommend having a plan when you're coming at any of these accounts, no matter what. You want to set yourself up for success. Otherwise, it'll end up taking longer in the long run. Just trust me, bro. But if you are ready for that next step to try to earn your funding, this is the lowest cost option if you are ready just to start getting your feet wet. I do want to point out, so they have the account names. They've got core, scale, and pro. They also have the account amount. So it's 50K, 100K, 150K. Those are the various account sizes they offer. So core only comes in 50K. I do really want to make sure to point out that your max drawdown on a 50K is $2,000. So really what you have to work with is $2,000. So I want you to understand that. Of course, they're getting really great margin rates where an ES contract is $500 and a NASDAQ contract is $1,000 of what you need to have in your account in order to place that trade. So the micros are going to be 1/10 of that. So you can see why you can take a lot of futures micros in these accounts potentially if you've got a $2,000 to work with, and it's $50 for an MES and $100 for an MNQ. That can be a way to kind of get those first trades in without completely losing your mind and freaking yourself out. So they have a 50K core, they have a 50K scale, and a 50K pro. And then the scale and pro also have the 100K and the 150K. So the 100K, you have the $3,000 of drawdown, and the 150K, you have $4,500 of drawdown. So those are the same whether you go to scale or pro, no matter which account you pick, that drawdown amount is going to be the same. What's also the same is the drawdown mode. So if you've been trading prop firms for very long, or even if you've been shopping around, some of the prop firms will have intraday drawdown, and some of them will have end of day drawdown. And end of day drawdown is a lot more realistic and like trading your own live funds. And so I really like this option. There is a little trick that is literally invented by prop firms to have intraday trailing drawdown. And what that means is before you ever even take profit, they're going to consider this drawdown, the $2,000 drawdown or the $3,000, whatever it is. They're going to take that off of the max amount that your account was that day, even if you didn't take profits up there. So if you have a trade that runs up and then it comes back down and hits a trailing drawdown, you no longer have your $2,000 or whatever it was for drawdown. It's now less than that. So that's kind of weird if you're kind of thinking about the way that money and normal trading actually works. So I really do like the drawdown being end of day across all of the accounts now. The activation fee is none. So what that means is once you pay for this account, there is a monthly reoccurring fee if you carry this over a month. So you'll have that rebuild date when you sign up. But after that, if once you pass it, there's no activation fee. This is kind of a hidden fee. Maybe it's not hidden, but it's not really thought about as much with some of the other firms because the account may be cheaper up front, but then by the time you pass it, you have to pay this $150, $180 activation fee, So they're not doing any of that, which I appreciate. So let's get into the rules. The 50K accounts always have a $3,000 profit target. This is simplified from the old plans. So thank you. Any way they simplify these plans, I appreciate. You can still do it a little bit more. That's okay. So the 100K accounts have a $6,000 profit target, and then the 150K accounts have a $9,000 profit target. That means that if you're working with $2,000, you've got to make $3,000 on top of that. That's got to be the profit that you're going to use $2,000 to make $3,000 in profit, or you're going to use $3,000 and make $6,000 in profit, or $4,500 and $9,000. So you can kind of see where some of the deal changes a little bit as you get higher up into these accounts. I know that sounds a little crazy if you've never traded futures before, but you have to realize that the notional value of these contracts that we're trading is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there's a lot of different reasons that we're allowed to trade these on this little smidgen of margin that I've gone into on other videos if you're interested, but this is real. It's really, really highly leveraged. So what we're going for with a funding program is we're looking for leverage, right? We always want more leverage. Okay, the daily drawdowns. So I don't know why this gets so controversial. I guess some people really need their hands held. If I want to be a professional trader, I want to learn how to trade without my hand being held so much. But the daily drawdown, some accounts have where once you draw an account down so much, you are locked out of your account and there's nothing that you can do. You can do this at the software level as well, so it'll at least slow you way down. Yes, technically you can go turn it off and get around it. But if you're so undisciplined that if you set a daily drawdown limit in your software and still can't stop, you got to work on that, like for real. Anyway, there's no firm-wide daily drawdown limit on any of these accounts now. This is where things get a little bit tighter. So we've got the max position, and on the core and scale 50Ks and the pro 50K as well, all the 50K accounts, you're limited to 3 contracts. So we're talking about mini contracts here. So then we're going to get down into the micro scaling, but the 50K accounts, you're allowed to have 3 minis. So that's basically an ES or an NQ. Maybe you trade gold or something like that, but that's going to be the mini contracts. You can have 3 of those. 100K is always going to be 6 and the 150K is always going to be 9. We'll get into the differences of the scale and the pro more when you get to the funded accounts and you have different payouts. So this micro scaling on these core and scale accounts, so usually you can get on a normal broker, you can use 10 minis in the place of 1 micro. So that helps you scale down your trades and be able to scale in and out, or not take a full mini if you don't want to put that much risk on. So this is all normal micro scaling here. When you get into the pro accounts, it says none because your max is 3 contracts. So these are not great accounts for people who really like the minis. I was confused about that, but that is how it works. There is a consistency rule. If you don't know what that is, real quick, that just means, so if it's 50%, that means that you can't make more than half of your profit target in any one trading day. So for a $3,000 account with a $3,000 profit target, you don't want to make more than $1,500 in one day, or technically broken a rule, and they'll change what you have to earn on that. And that's no fun. I've been there. It's weird to trade too much and then be punished for it, kind of. All right, the scaling rule is not applicable in these test accounts. So let's move down to the funded and we'll start looking at that. So you can see we've still got all the accounts here. Daily drawdown limit is still gone. There is a max position. And so on the 50Ks, it's 3 contracts in the core and scale, and then it moves up to 6 and 9 in the higher end scale accounts. The pro is a little bit different. It's 5, 10, and 15. So up here, before you were allowed 3, now you're allowed 5 once you move into the funding program. These are all designed to kind of graduate you to the next level. You can see how when you're looking at this from a perspective of choose your own adventure, it makes a little bit of sense. You're still always graduating, but it's kind of how quickly you graduate. So you can see how from the left side of the chart to the right side of the chart, I'm really trying to show you the way this would be the most beginner account, and this would be the most experienced established trader on this side. Okay, this is where I told you that the micro scaling gets a little bit weird. So up here we had 10-to-1 micro scaling. That's normal. Here, they're wanting you to graduate into the minis and not be trading the micro so much, as far as I could tell. I mean, why else would it be this way? But you're basically limited to half the number of micros that you would normally be once you are in the core or scale funded accounts. So I just want everyone to be really aware of this. I really like trading micros, especially when I'm starting out an account. I get in my head too much when that balance falls below the starting balance. So I like to buffer it with some micro trades before I really get going. It just helps me out mentally a little bit. So this is something that I've had to really be aware of, because I'm going to be limited to only 5 of them here, or 1 of them in these pro accounts. And that's why when I initially looked at this list and was like, oh, these pro accounts are awesome, I can make money really fast. It's like, well, if I want to be more slow and methodical about it, these scale accounts are actually kind of a better deal. Once you get into the funded accounts, you get rid of the consistency rule. But some of these accounts are going to have scaling. This is the scale account, okay? You got the scale account in the middle here, and then you've got the core account that's below it. So it's going to kind of inherit those scaling rules a little bit. And then the pro account, these are more expensive accounts, but what you're paying for is not having to deal with all this scaling. So your path to bigger payouts is faster on a pro account than it is on a scale account. So one of the things that I've been telling people lately when I'm comparing the different prop firms is that, there's a few of them that have some really good offering. They're kind of calling it the battle of the prop firms right now. And the headliners, the big firms that have the best, most trusted, reliable names that aren't associated with scammers and all that, it's not that many. You know who I'm talking about. Well, they all kind of have their different pros and cons, right? Their different personalities. And some of the other firms where they have a really great offering, they're really better for someone who's kind of all on their own. And MyFunded Futures is set up to help graduate you a little bit. So they're holding your hand a little bit. They've given you a lot of freedoms because you don't have the daily drawdowns and all of that sort of thing anymore. But they are trying to make sure that you're on the right path before you end up trading actual live funds. So that's another point. Not all of the firms out there are actually putting traders onto real live funds. They're literally just making money off of all of these different fees that you're paying for the prop firms. And if they're paying people out, it's out of that money. That means that they're taking a lot more in fees than they are in anything else. And, if I was building a prop firm, I would think that I would want to not have all my eggs in one basket. And yeah, I want to make money on fees, but I want to make money on traders ultimately. I'm ultimately looking for talent. And it's pretty clear that some of these are not looking for talent and some of them are. MyFunded Futures is one of those that actually is looking for talent. And I know we're going to hear more about some of that because I've been in some of these meetings, but we're going to be hearing a lot more about some of these really cool success stories. All right, enough about that. Let's get down to the most exciting part, the payout rules. So this is where it gets a little bit maybe complicated, but it depends on which account you're in. So in the core, I mentioned that this one's going to be the kind of most hand-holding account. So this one does limit you on your max payouts. But what happens is, so on all of these, they have an 80-20 profit split. That means for every dollar that you make in profit that you're going to withdraw, you're going to get 80% of that and they're going to get 20. That's the profit share in order for you to be able to use their funds in the market. And okay, there's a couple ways that you can structure a payout if you're a prop firm. And you can do it either based on the number of winning days or just based on time. And the firms have kind of all played with it different ways. This way, you get to kind of choose your own adventure. So the core and the scale accounts, on these, you can request a payout every 5 days as long as it's a minimum day. So as long as you make the minimum profit per day, you can request a payment every 5 days. So if you make at least $100 every single trading day, you can take a payout every single week. That may not be realistic, but that's the absolute fastest that you would be able to do that in these 50K accounts. Then in the 100K, it's $200 a day, and in the 150K, it's $300 a day. Of course, these ones you're working with more money, so that's why they're expecting you to get a little bit more profit. In the pro accounts, though, it doesn't have to do with the minimum profits per day at all. It's completely time-based, which means it's every 2 weeks. And the thought process behind this is if you're switching from, a job into a day trading career, then maybe you're used to getting paid on a bi-weekly basis, and that's how this is set up. So every 14 days, you can request a payout of what profits you have in there. So there are minimum withdrawals amounts, and if you've had 5 winning days of at least $100, hopefully you have at least $500 in your account. Your minimum pay is going to be half of that. Your max payout, no matter which payout it is, as long as you're in this sim funded account, all of these first accounts, when you first graduate into a funded account, unless you do the eval to live, these are all sim funded here. So as long as you're on payout 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're in this sim funded account on your core account. So it's either 30 winning days of at least $100 or 5 payouts of up to $1,000. And then you're going to move into the live account. So on the scale account, it's similar, except for you can start graduating your payout amounts. So in the scale account, you still have the minimum days of, this is on the 50K, minimum days of 5 winning 100+ days. And then you have a minimum payout of 250, but your max payout starts at 1,500. And by your 5th payout, it's at 3,500. And then on the 100K and the 150K, it just graduates up. It's from a minimum payout of 3,000 or 4,500 up to 5,000 or 7,500. The minimum payout on the pro accounts is always $1,000, but the max payout isn't capped at this point until you get to $100,000 of payouts. So once you get to 30 winning days or 5 payouts or $100,000 of payouts in sim funded, you will get moved to live funded. And this is where things change, and it's still related to the plan that you sign up for, but we're dropping all the 50K, 100K, 150K. They all become static accounts, which just means that drawdown is your account balance now. It's a little bit different. So in the core account, you're going to start with 2,500, scale 3,000, the scale 100K, 4,000, scale 150K, 5,000. And then when you're in these pro accounts, it depends a little bit. It's going to depend on your performance. So at MyFunded Futures, once you get to these live accounts, what this means is you're actually using real money. It's their funds. It's actually MyFunded Futures funds engaged in the real market, not like all this sim stuff that you've been doing before. And they are really going to take that seriously. Part of their taking it seriously is they have a risk team, and the risk team will work with you to make sure that you have an appropriately sized account and daily loss limit to make sure that you can do the trading that you need to do the way you need to do it to turn a profit without risking their funds, literally their funds. These aren't just your funds anymore. I mean, they're literally their funds. So that's what that's all about. You do have a max contracts in these accounts as well. So this is where I talk about you buy what kind of funded account you want at the end. If it's your very first account, you probably just, it's a big challenge to even get here. So on your first one, you're probably going to be in a core or a scale, right? You're going to be down here on these lower priced accounts, just trying to even get here and then later here. So you do end up with these smaller daily loss limits and static account sizes and max contracts. But at this point, hopefully you can feel comfortable and start graduating to either the larger size accounts or the pro accounts. And they did update with this new account lineup. Instead of being able to have a max number of accounts of 3, you can now have a maximum of 5 accounts. So if you want to spread out your leverage across accounts, which is kind of something that I've found is a pretty good tip when you're working with prop firms and managing your prop firms, then that's a good way to do that, is to add 5 accounts to it. So again, if you ever want to come back to this, just go ahead and bookmark this link. It's bullbarbie.com/prop-firms. You can always get to it at bullbarbie.com. And whenever I have some new accounts or new information, I do my best to always bookmark this. And of course, if you use the code bullbarbie, then you'll get some sort of deal. It'll be a minimum discount up to whatever the promo is at the time. So if there's no promo going on, you'll get a little discount. If there's a promo going on, you'll get that bigger discount. And that's by visiting MyFunded Futures and using the coupon code bullbarbie. Thanks for joining me, and be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on, maybe even join the Discord, because I do have a lot more videos coming on different strategies and techniques that'll hopefully help you get your prop accounts passed so you can move on to that funded stage. And I hope to see you around. All right, love you. Bye.